I'm really, really thankful to be here. I will say that 100%. And the reason why is because, like Mike said, I have no idea why I'm even here. Because usually on a Sunday morning, I would be kind of like this in front of a congregation at a pulpit, because I am a senior pastor and I'm also a mental health clinician. So I love people. And so that moment that Mike mentioned just a few minutes ago, the reason I did say something is because I just don't like to see people in a position where they've come and they've paid a lot of money, they put a lot of time in, and somebody posture themselves in a way like, you're wasting my time. I just didn't like that. And I felt like it didn't mix with Mike, right? It just, from what I had gathered from Mike, it was like, man, here was a guy who's given away valuable information. He's like super vulnerable, transparent on this show. He's a guy, like a man's man who's got these little dogs, and he talks about like his affection for his animals and his wife and his family, and I'm like, how does he fit with this guy? And the funny thing about it was that night, mostly everybody there were O-Ratters. And so I really felt like, well, man, like this is kind of an awkward moment. And the reason why I said what I said, I forgot what I said, but the reason why I said it and asked him or said whatever I said was because in that moment, the room froze. And I felt this sort of tension, like, well, what do I say now? Like, I've come all this way and this guy's put this thing on my lap and, and I'm like, wow, well, that's kind of whack. So I just went there and said what I said. But, ultimately it was about you. It was about people. It was about, hey, wait a minute. Like, these people are hardworking people every single day, and nobody deserves to go a distance, whether it's even around the corner. But nobody deserves to show up to something, and say, hey, I'm excited about it, and then get deflated, feeling like, well, man, I thought, I was on a momentum to do something. Because that'll kill your momentum. Because this is huge. What Mike, I just want to say this. Look, I have a couple of things before I get all into the presentation, because the presentation is really where I'm gonna kind of hold your attention today. But I want to give just a little bit of gratitude. I want to be gracious, all right? Number one, I want to be gracious to the Lord, because I'm supposed to be at work today, and I'm not, all right? So I want to just say thank you, Lord, for allowing me to be here today. And be in front of all of you, because you're very important to Mike, you're very important to me, and so I'm going to show you that here in a minute. And then, of course, to my wife, because listen to me, I would have not known anything about Mike had my wife not been watching the videos. She's the one that came to me and was like, hey, you got to see this, or, this guy seems, because I'm the guy immediately when you watch something on TV and somebody says, oh, you can do this, I can do that for you, and all you got to do is pay $200. I'm like, yeah, whatever. Like, by the time you finish paying $200, you're paying $30,000, right? And you still feel like you got nothing, and you gave them all the money. So she was telling me, she's like, no, babe, really, this guy, he's I'm telling you, he's the real deal. He's on it. He's just like you. He's like one iota from a pastor, like real. And I'm like, okay. So I start watching. She shows me a little bit. He starts interrupting our pillow talk at night because she wants me to hear some of the videos. And I'm like, okay, let's listen to Mike. Let's listen. I was like, what is his last name again? Zuber? Okay, all right. Like, so I'm all in my head thinking, whatever. But as long as I said, well, don't send any money. None of our money goes to that guy. You can watch him all you want. You can hear what he says, but don't send any money. And so then one day she says, I think we should purchase his book. And so I said, well, how much is his book? So she buys his book, and she's reading it around the house, and she's leaving it here and there, just leaving it. And so I'm picking up, I'm flipping, because I'm curious. I'm like, look, because she's never really watched the job she has. She's way too busy to be watching, but during COVID, nobody was really busy, right? You're working from home, you have a lot of extra time. And so she got into watching YouTube, and so she never does that. And so when she bought the book, I thought, well, man, like, this guy must really be saying something. All the little excerpts I heard, it was all right information. It was like, okay, that's obvious. All right, yeah. And I had been in banking years before, so it made sense. So it's like, okay, the guy sounds great. But when I was reading the book, let me tell you something. Here's what grabbed me. I want to read a couple of excerpts to you real quick. We got some time today, so don't worry. Stay awake, all right? Here we go. because I could be preaching the gospel to you right now, and you would be feeling pricked in your soul, and then you might want to leave or go to sleep, all right? So stay awake with me. This will be fun, I promise you. But look, this is in the preface of the book. So if you don't, how many people have the book? Just out of curiosity. How many people? Okay, not enough people. You need to buy this book. Watch this. I want to show you something. In the preface, it starts off, first paragraph. When I first started investing in real estate 15 years ago, I searched everywhere for books written by experienced real estate investors. This guy's just like me. He's looking for something to help him. Look at what he says. I look far and wide for stories of investors with full-time jobs who actually travel the path from first investment to financial independence, which is what Mike gives you, and then ultimately to retirement. He said, I remember being fixated on the idea of retiring at a young age. Who is not at that place in their life? Amen? Nobody wants to go to work every day, right? Everybody wants to do what they want to do and enjoy doing that. And Mike's like, yeah, that's what I want to do. And so he says, and enjoying life. But it was impossible to find books written from an investor's perspective, documenting their journey from full-time employment to financial independence. So it basically says, it was impossible to find the information. So not only could I not find it, and he could have connected with somebody and just got it for himself. But he says, not only am I going to get the information, but now I'm going to share the information with you. But then I went further, right? Because I'm just flipping through the book. It's being left in my house, like all around, right? And so here's why I want you to buy the book. This is why I want you to buy the book. And really, here's why. Because we first started off this weekend with Lumberjack and Ashley, right? And here's the thing. This is the first thing he says. Well, aside from some other things that he starts in, but he says the most important thing, and this is why I said, okay, let's check this guy out. Let's go down to the conference. I would have never gone to a conference. I would have never done any of that stuff. I'm straight 100% a traditional work guy. That's what I came up with. Anybody ever read the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad? Okay, that was me, right? My parents were poor dad, right? So I was all about working every single day, 9 to 5. One day it's going to happen. If it doesn't, then I'm just happy with what happened, right? I'm just happy with what I got. And I never, you'd always dream, but you never figure, that dream could be me, right? And so, and my dad, he would get up every day and go play lotto. That literally, I'm a native New Yorker. You see that later. But at the end of the day, that was me. Here's what's interesting, though. I grew up in a 2-parent household, both parents in very good jobs, and here's great retirements. They live awesome today on that in one of the markets that we invest in. But watch this. My wife, no dad in the home, grew up in a home where she basically had a matriarchal structure. Her grandmother was at the helm, her mom, then her, and her grandmother was like, hey, you are not going to ever live this way. She's from the Bronx, New York. I'm from Queens. We both know what projects, tenement, high-rise living is all about, being a little crowded at sometimes. Her grandmother had a super huge heart. She would bring in people. She, of course, loved the Lord. We both love the Lord, but that's how, she's a super huge impact on our lives. But here's the thing. I would have never gone to anything like this. And my wife, she had that idea, her grandmother, whenever she would say, I want to do this, she'd be like, okay, baby, you can go do it. My parents, if I would have said, I want to go do this, no, you don't need to. You need to go to college is what you need to do. We're going to send you to college. And they'd be like, what do I do after that? I don't know, but after college, you'll figure it out, right? That's the kind of parents I had. But her grandmother was the kind of person who's like, dream, baby, dream. And when I married a dreamer, right? I was a steamer. I was the guy that'd be like, psh, blow the air out of that, right? And so I'm sure she probably was like, what did I marry? I'm happy with the guy, but I'm kind of thinking about, can I take him back, right? Because her grandmother gave me this speech, because I had to sit down with her mom and her grandmother and be like, hey, can I have her hand in marriage, right? Because that's what you do. If the dad is not, you ask the family. So her grandmother said, hey, listen, if she doesn't own up to what it is that you are looking for, just bring her back. And I was thinking to myself, there's been plenty of times in my life, listen to me. This is why I'm really gracious for my wife, because there's been probably plenty of times in our marriage that I'm sure she probably want to do that with me to my parents, right? Just take him back, right? Not, and get a new husband. But here's what Mike wrote. He wrote this under a subtitle, The Most Important Thing. The following is the most important thing you must do before you get started buying or even researching investment properties. So he's saying, before you even look at anything, watch this. If you have a significant other, you can tell him a pastor, right? Watch this. Look, he says, you must, without a doubt, sit down with him or her and have a long discussion about why you want to do this, what it means for both of your futures, and how long it could take. And you will read elsewhere in this book, it took Olivia, his wife, and I nearly 2 decades to put our portfolio together in a place where we both could retire comfortably. I am convinced that if we were not in the same place mentally regarding our plans, we would have taken one of the many off-ramps that lead to the destruction of your dreams. I thought, wow, that is transparent. I think he shared the whole mentally thing, like just being light about it, but I really think if he would have said mentally and spiritually, I really believe he would have fully opened up. But I think it was just a matter of like, if I put that in there, people are going to be like, oh, this is a Christian book. Why would I buy that, right? So I get it. But he says, the path you are considering doesn't offer clear signs of meaningful progress for quite a while, as it takes time to secure enough properties to balance out the ups and downs of the market. And of course, you know, he's big on like, just do the first one. But if you get to 4, you're good. He says, it takes faith, belief, and there's the spiritual piece. It takes faith, belief, and constant affirmation that you are on the right path. If you don't have that from the start as a team, he calls him and his wife a team, the first or second bump in the road will lead to a fight. Believe me, real estate investing is great, but it tests you all the time. Let me tell you something. I am grateful for a person like Mike who can turn around and say, not only do I want to give something to America, but I want to give something to America that is the truth. And let me tell you something, he's also changing America. Because I don't know about you, but if you look around this room right now, this is a group of people who are working people, just 1040 W-2 people that are like, hey, they dream, and he says, whatever your dream is, you can do it, and here's how to do it. Here's how to do it. He's not exploiting you because of your dream. He's saying, I know you're dreaming, and so I want to give you that opportunity to reach it. I don't know about you, but every time I see Mike, I just want to give him a round of applause, and so I think we should do it again. Absolutely. Absolutely. Incredible guy. Incredible guy. Listen, I also want to say thank you to all of the millionaires, all of the people who have partnered with him so far to share your information and all your insight. Thank you so much. Of course, we've learned a lot from you. I'm sure everybody here has learned a lot from you. But I am definitely humbled to be behind all of you because you have definitely given some huge information that I know I've learned a lot from. We have invested, like I said, in 3 different regions. So look here, we appreciate each and every one of you. And then, of course, ORAT family, you guys are just ridiculously awesome. You bring a new definition to hope in America. Definitely. So give yourselves a round of applause. Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, so let's get down and dirty into the presentation. So I'm going to talk about making the best of your mess. And let me just kind of, I should have said, well, I'll say again, I am Fred Ledbetter. I have a master's in clinical mental health counseling. I'm a licensed professional counselor. And then I also have a private counseling, Christian counseling. I always say Christian counseling is faith-based counseling. Ledbetter Life Strategies. Of course, if you came to me and you didn't have, like you weren't Christian, it's okay, I can help you. But I do specialize in Christian counseling. But making the best of your mess. Let me give you a little quick story behind the title of this. So a lady came and sat down with me one time. I work in secular counseling work. I work in community health right now. And she said, she gave me her whole background, her whole narrative, and she said, Fred, I'm just a mess. And I said, well, okay. And so I'm thinking, my mind is rolling at the same time, and I'm kind of smiling inside. And she just sits there, and she breaks down and cries. And I said, well, let's make the best of your mess. And she sits there, and she looks at me, and she's like, oh. And she starts wiping away her tears, and she goes, but how do you make the best out of a mess? And I said, easily, you look at the mental, emotional, and spiritual pieces in order to be able to do that. So I want to tell you, first of all, who I am, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about cleaning the mess up, what the mess is, how do we address the mess, all of those good things. And then hopefully when we get to Q&A, some of you can ask some of those questions in regard to, because I deal with couples, I deal with individuals, I deal with high-level performing individuals, I dealt with government individuals, so on and so forth. So I'm a native New Yorker, I'm a Marine Corps veteran, I'm a husband of 27 years. Just this past Friday, which, by the way, Mike, I am spending now, since last year, every anniversary weekend with you, okay? Wherever you are in the room, thank you, right? So but it's good though, because it's making us richer, right? So it's all right, it's okay. And then I'm a father of 3, a lifelong learner, a senior pastor, a grandfather of 2 beautiful grandkids, a licensed professional counselor, a real estate investor, and guess what? I am busy just like you. And so the reason why I wanted to do this presentation and help today is because I want you to understand that while you know you are busy, you got to hold it together, right? Because here's the deal. I want you to make it to your dream alive. Does that make sense? Good deal. So what I'll tell you today, I will talk to you about the mess. What causes the mess? When should we address our mess? How do we address our mess? I'll talk to you a little bit about common cognitive challenges that happen with just individuals, period. But I'll talk and point out the ones that happen with high-performing individuals a lot. And I'll give you a fix for the moment and then something important and special to consider. There's always something important and special to consider. So what is the mess? Here is where we're going to start seeing a little bit of Jedi tricks, right? All right, so mental, emotional, and spiritual challenges of life. And here's the thing, folks. Everything you do, right? Everything you do, like when you do a physical deal, you take things, you eat things, it gets down to a cellular level, right? So when you live life, everything you do in life, all of the impacts you take in life, all of the interactions you have in life, believe it or not, you decide whether or not that thing gets all the way down to a cellular level. Okay, a cellular level. Keep that in mind. Getting all the way down, deep down into your soul. That's the spiritual piece. So there's a mental, emotional, and spiritual challenge in life. And everything becomes that in some aspects. But it is the mental, emotional, and spiritual challenges of life are important because they provide opportunities for personal growth. Look at how we frame that. Look at the perspective. Every time we have an issue or challenge, it is providing an opportunity for us to grow, to be resilient, to have a deeper understanding of something or of ourselves, allowing us to navigate life's complexities with greater meaning and purpose while also shaping our character and worldview. Essentially, how we face and overcome these challenges can significantly impact our overall well-being and quality of life. So it's all about how we frame it. Okay, keep that in mind. It's all about how you frame it. All right, all about how you look at it. So it's like carrying, when we have a mental, emotional, spiritual impact, which, by the way, if there are any therapists in the room, I do want to say this up front, just kind of therapist to therapist, I am going to tell you in a few minutes, I'm going to tell everybody, but trauma is something very different from just having just kind of a wrong thought or like air thinking. Okay, so some people suffer some really severe trauma, and I will tell you in a minute, go right to a therapist and work on that because that's deep, deep, deep work that you definitely need to do. But then there are just some simple mental blocks that sometimes we have. And sometimes that comes because of some trauma that you've sustained in your life. So there's some complex things that go along with mental health, but there's some real surface, simple things that you could have just kind of had a bump in life, like a little kind of slight trauma, and it just sort of it kind of reshifted your brain in a way that starts to make you think in a negative way or a negative perspective or causes you to frame things in a way that could be adverse to your goals. But here's what C.S. Lewis says. Mental pain is less dramatic than physical pain, which it is, because you can't really see it. Somebody could be in anguish and you can't really see it. But it is more common and also more hard to bear. Because some people wake up every single day and they keep focusing on work, goals, family, life, whatever the life is that they have, and they keep trying to push past whatever mental anguish they have. And sometimes you have no idea that they're doing that. In Alaska, we have some of the highest numbers of suicide per capita. And one of the questions people always ask is, what happened? And people say, because just yesterday they were happy. And it's like, well, yeah, they probably showed it on their face, but you don't know what they were thinking in their minds. And so one of the most beautiful things about talking and sitting in therapy with people is that when they realize that this is a place where I can really open up and leave all my baggage here on the floor, you'd be surprised how many lives are saved, sometimes within the first 2 sessions, because they are at the brink of break. Okay, they are at the brink of break. Some people lead to a place of burnout. Let me go back here for a minute. So, all right, when to address the mess, right? Now that we know what the mess is, so when you notice the following things. Number 1, if you're feeling worthless, guilty, or depressed, definitely get some help. Okay? Having mood swings, like you find that, hey, I'm really happy in the morning and kind of down in the afternoon. And investing can cause that. You got these really, really super highs. You're excited about a deal. The deal closes. Maybe something goes bad with it. And then before you know it, you're at a really, really super low. And then feeling irritable, snappy, or easily frustrated. Having trouble sleeping or sleeping too much. So when people are like really exhausted, like, I don't know why I'm so exhausted. It's because your brain is working so hard. Okay, looking at those spreadsheets, trying to figure out different places, different areas, trying to run the numbers, that stuff is taxing. Having low energy or fatigue, having difficulty concentrating on making decisions, having thoughts of death or suicide, obviously very, very important to get some help. And then, of course, having delusions, paranoia, or hallucinations. When you think that you're seeing things or something is happening, it's not really happening, it's not real. You feel like everybody's against you or nobody, in investing world, these happen sometimes because sometimes we get into like this dream mindset where it's like, oh, I know this is going to work out because, and you have this delusion and you've forgotten to really look at the numbers and be honest with yourself. And so delusions can happen. Of course, hallucinations are a whole other thing. But paranoia can happen when you feel like everybody's against me. I feel like the people down at the bank don't want to close loans with me because I'm black. I feel like, the workers on the site, they don't want to talk to me right because I'm a female when I go down and figure out what's going on with the property. There's a whole lot of different reasons why you could get into a paranoia, but it happens. Having difficulty coping with stress or daily problems. So when you get to that place, you're like, I don't know what to do. And you start snapping in that way, or you start recognizing that you're having a little bit of a challenge processing some of the simple things that you used to process, and you're trying to figure that out. And then, of course, having trouble relating to people or situations. And then, as I said before, you lead to burnout. When you're sitting in front of your computer and you just want to do that, or you just want to crash your head right into the computer because you're getting so tired of doing that work. That's when you start recognizing that there's some mental anguish. Look at this fact. 60 million Americans suffer from mental health challenges. The reason why I didn't say disorders is because I don't like to use the word disorders. Of course, the DSM-5 does use the word disorders, right? And of course, in our field, we use the word disorders. But I say challenges because it's just a hurdle that you got to get over. This is just a hurdle for a moment. Now, I will tell you this. There are people that have so many layers of challenges. And so I am not in any way, shape, or form minimizing what you might have been through. But I will tell you this, that if you're a person that's got a lot of layers, listen to me, there is hope for you, okay? And the reason I know there's hope for you is because I've sat with a lot of people that have had tons of layers, tons. And they've worked through them and gotten better and gotten better and gotten better and gotten to a place of healing and wellness. So there is hope for everyone. That came out last year in 2024 from Mental Health America. So here's some common cognitive challenges. The reason why I'm moving quickly is because I want to get to some of your questions. So there's all or nothing thinking, where you just kind of think like black and white. There's catastrophizing, which basically the word explains itself. There's overgeneralization, where you just kind of everything is this and everything is that. You make these generalized statements. Listen to me. Every time you talk or you speak in just connecting with people or on the phone or when you're presenting your deals, always speak in real information. Don't generalize. Don't make something grandiose, because when you get into that, then you start to speak that way all the time, and it comes off like as if you don't really know what you're talking about, or you're a liar, right? You're just kind of presenting information that's false. So you'll say, I know a really good guy. He's a great guy because, and it's like, well, is he really that good? Is he really that great? You don't know that. Or, right now, I think our current leader, national leader, he does that a lot. He uses a lot of adjectives, really and awesome, and he's great, and and at the end of the day, you're sold on that. But then when you really get into the deal, then you're like, oh, well, so don't do that, because you'll actually start creating that behavior for yourself, and it puts you in a bad place. You won't know how to correct that. Mental filtering, where people are telling you facts, but you seem to not want to look at the facts. You look at some other things. Personalization, everything is you. You look at everything as kind of affecting you. Excuse me. You look at everything as kind of affecting you. How did I get back there? Okay, jumping to conclusions, intrusive thoughts, automatic thoughts. These two are common. Intrusive thoughts and automatic thoughts. People get into places where they have limiting beliefs, blocking beliefs, negative thought loops. But the intrusive thoughts and the automatic thoughts. Automatic thoughts sometimes are things that you automatically think about yourself. Things that people may have said to you that you've started to kind of accept and believe, or you've said it to yourself, and then now you start to wear that. Right? So, maybe perhaps in your family, like they might have had like a little nickname for you because of something, and now you just kind of adopt that and you start believing that. You tell people, oh, you can just call me so-and-so. People always call me so-and-so. Look, be careful of those types of things because they create thoughts in your mind. Try to keep your brain table as clean as possible. The cleaner your brain table is, the better and more healthy you will be, okay? Discrediting the positive. When people tell you positive things, you don't want to hear it. You're always knocking it down. If you're on a diet, somebody says, hey, you look great. You lost a lot of weight. You're like, yeah, whatever. I'm not really losing anything. I'm at a plateau, And while that might be true, the person said you look great. So accept the fact that you look great. That's a positive statement. Should statements is I should have done this. If I would have done that, I could have done this. And when you start looking retrospectively, then you start feeling a little bit of a weight. Somebody was vulnerable earlier yesterday and said, I was trying to hit ever so many subs, and I heard a little bit of a crack in their voice. I forget who that was, but he was like, yeah, I was really disappointed in myself. And, that kind of thinking, when you think like, I should have hit that, or I wanted, or I could have, right, that can really get at you. So give yourself some grace when you think about what you're trying to do and what you're trying to accomplish. And then, of course, labeling. Sometimes people do labeling a little bit, which is kind of, you put labels on yourself, you put labels on what you do, you put labels on the things that you own, so on and so forth. So here's the strategies that I would tell you how to address the mess, how to address when your mental, emotional, spiritual state gets a little wonky and gets out of place and begins to have challenges. Number one, see a mental health professional, okay? And here's something I will tell you. This is very interesting. But healthcare, your doctor is going to say, hey, how are things going? And as long as you come back and you say, oh, they're going great. They're going great. Things are going well. And you start, kind of reporting some good things in your life. As long as they hear, they're like, all right, cool, great. And you appear to be healthy. Your numbers look good. They're going to let you go walk. They're going to let you walk right out the office. Unless you come in and you say, listen, I'm a veteran, so I will tell you this. Unless you go into the doctor and you say, I've been having challenges with this, and it's pointing to your mental, well, they say, okay, well, I'm going to refer you to, right? But you don't have to necessarily be referred, though. You could literally pick up the phone and say, hey, I need to talk to somebody because I'm having challenges with this. It's not the body. I'm getting up every day going to the gym. I'm eating everything I'm supposed to eat. I'm at a good, healthy weight. I'm doing great things for my physical, but for some reason, I just can't get this out of my mind. That's why you need a mental health professional. So please, if you find that there's something happening in your brain and you just can't get past it, seek help with a mental professional quickly. Practice mindfulness and meditation. Mindfulness is about being there. Meditation is about clearing the mind. So mindfulness is about being present, being in the moment. You can do that all the time when you interact with people. Look them in the eyes. Listen to exactly what they're saying. Put yourself in that moment with that person. Give them that respect just as well as you want that back. And then, of course, the meditation is about clearing that mind, making sure all that clutter is gone. So they're similar but not exactly the same. Get moving with physical activity. Endorphins do great. Serotonin is released, right? Dopamine, all that stuff. It feels great in the body. Connect with healthy friends. Listen, Mike always talks about fire your friends. I would agree with that, right? If they are horrible friends, definitely fire them. But somebody earlier yesterday said, audit your what? What was it, sweetheart? Audit your friends. Yeah, audit your network, right? And so look at your network. Like, there might be some people that just are really good people in your life, but they don't have anything to do with real estate investment, and that's okay. They speak to a good place in your life, and that's fine. Like, you need good people in your life. But, then, of course, there are those people that when you're trying to make things happen in your business side of life that you do need, right? So auditing your network is really good, and I like that. I'm going to use that. I'm going to take that back to the office. But audit your network. And then connect with your faith community. Listen to me, folks. I have 4 tenets that I use in our church: faith, family, fitness, and finance. Faith is first, because if you don't have a moral code that you live by, you will lose quickly. you will lose quickly. For me, mine is God. For me, mine is Christianity. For me, mine is Jesus Christ. So for us, for me and my household, we serve the Lord. Okay, how about that? But as far as, when we look at our life, everything we do has to line up with our faith. Every deal we do, the way we treat our tenants, everything has to line up with our faith, okay? And then, of course, family. What we do, the question is this our family's goal? Is this going to help our family? For my wife and I, it's going to leave a legacy. It's going to leave a heritage, right? So those are things that are important to us. And then, of course, fitness. Is this going to make us mentally, is this going to push us to a place where it's going to make us mentally unstable, or are we going to be able to keep our mental stability? Okay, so that's the fitness part. Are we going to get to a place where we're running so busy with it that we forget to take care of ourselves, that self-care piece? So we got to make sure we pay attention to all those things. The reason why finance is last is because, let me tell you something, as long as you have all of this working, you always have an opportunity to make $1. You always have an opportunity to make $1. But the moment that all of this breaks down, all of that goes away. And so it's very important that you make sure you take care of all of this first in order to get to that, okay? Of course, prioritizing your self-care. Be honest with yourself. Always be honest with yourself. Stop scrolling and start resting. Listen to me, this phone is like unbelievably it's probably the most invasive thing in people's lives. There is nothing that you need. When you're with your family, there's nothing that you need to know in those quality moments. Take time in those quality moments. Don't scroll. I know people sit down to the table and they just kind of right away. But listen, if you could just set that phone aside and practice that mindfulness, practice being there, being present in the moment, it will make you a much better person. Trust me, it will make all of your engagements, your future engagements, when you engage with people, interact with them, it will increase the quality of those, because now you know how to put that aside and focus on what's in front of you. So make sure you stop scrolling and start resting. Start resting your eyes, start resting your mind, and start resting your countenance. Use known coping skills repeatedly. So if some of you have already been in therapy, and please don't raise your hand, I'm not trying to ask you to reveal that, but if you have been in therapy, you do know that there are some skills that you can use, okay? And so, of course, some people might have an issue with anxiety. If you have issue with anxiety, you can do some vagus nerve calming stuff. It's polyvagal stuff where you can like take your right hand and kind of rub it down the left side of your body all the way down to your fingertips, and then do the same thing with your left hand, rub it all the way down the side of your body and run down to your fingertips there. You can do that. You can do tapping. I'm sure some people may have heard of tapping before. You can do tapping on your legs. You can do breathing. You can do box breathing, right? You can inhale, hold it, exhale, right, for a certain amount of times, right, and do that repeatedly for a certain amount of times. So there are a lot of coping skills you can do to calm yourself down. One of the greatest things I tell people to do is that if what you're doing, right, this is just genius, watch this. If what you're doing in the moment is causing you distress or challenge, stop doing it. This is, and listen, no, I'm telling you, in the therapy office, people were like, I never really thought about that. And I'm like, that's cool, $200 at the end of the, right? It's a thank you. I appreciate, I'm glad, thank you for helping me know my worth right now, right? You have any other friends that just can't figure out to stop what they're doing in the moment, just bring them to me, all right? Because I got some houses I want to buy, right? No, but the next one is because assess your strengths. What do I have? There's the frame. There's the frame. Remember what I said. It's going to get a little Jedi mind trick here in a minute. But assess what strengths you have, not what you don't have, right? Not what's wrong with me, but what is right with me, okay? Right? And then resource for more tools. If you feel like what you have has run out, it's not working anymore, it's nothing wrong with picking up the phone and trying to find somebody who's going to help you to get some more tools, okay? Never be too proud to ask. All right, so CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, is kind of like a therapy that they use. It's one of the many different interventions that we would use, therapeutic modalities, right? So there's EMDR, there's CBT, there's DBT, there's SFBT, which is solution focused brief therapy, which I use a lot of that with a lot of high-performing individuals. I use a lot of CBT with high-performing individuals. But if you read here, it's talk therapy used in treating clients suffering from various mental health challenges. It provides coping skills that will help clients manage challenging situations. Now notice, not get rid of them, manage them, okay? Remember, not get rid of it, manage it, right? So managing challenges, such as learning how to calm their body and mind, shifting the way they think. So watch this shift over here. Here's a quick fix. This is the quick fix. Reframe perspective. So I tell people sometimes, real fast. How would you reframe that? How would you reframe that? So watch this. Traditional CBT, this is old school. They say, what's bad about that? Versus, what would you like to change? That's more solution-focused brief therapy, but it's also CBT. What would you like to change about that? Solution-focused might go further to say, if all things were perfect, what would it look like? If everything was perfect in a perfect world right now, what would that look like to you? What would you need to do to make that happen, right? And then what's not working versus what's already or still working, right? What's already or still working. And then, of course, what is the worst thing that can happen? Like, why would you ask somebody that so they can just really think about the worst thing? Why would you want to take them into that mindset? And so the idea is, what's the best case scenario? What's really the best case scenario? What would really happen in that situation? Like, when you think about the situation, as you're real anxious about it, you're real stressed out about it, what's the best case scenario, right? Give that person an idea about that. So here's something important and special to consider. If you don't build your dreams, someone else will hire you to help them build theirs. Tony Gaskins Jr. said that, some motivational speaker guy that I watch on Instagram. One time he says, if you don't build your dreams, someone else will hire you to help them build theirs. That's so hitting, isn't it? It's like pretty powerful. Like, man, you're right. And here's what hit me about this statement was that I am a working person going to work every day, and I'm working probably for somebody else who had this dream like a long time ago. And I'm just one of the many employees that they've hired to help them keep that dream going. And then, of course, the right side, this is for me over here on your right side, my left, is then keep the charge of the Lord your God, walking in his ways and keeping his statutes, his commandments, his rules, and his testimonies, as it is written in the law of Moses, that you may prosper in all that you do and wherever you turn. I live this because every single day, everything I do, I always do it as unto the Lord. That's according to the word of God. And so I always do it that way. All right, let's get into some Q&A. What do I want to hear in Q&A, and what do I want to help you with? So if you have some lines over here, that's great. But here's what I also want to do. Let me take a look at the time. All right, okay, we've got about 18 minutes, right? Are we good? Okay. I also want to do this. Let's create a little bit of a group room. Now, here's group rules. This is group rules, okay? Group rules. So, and don't bring this up yet because I got one more slide. So here's group rules. Group rules is we don't talk about what goes on in group, right? This particular group today is not the time to be super vulnerable, right? Like, okay, so one time at band camp, don't be that person, okay? Don't be that person today because we don't have time to work through that, all right? But, just some things that might be challenging you. But here's what's beautiful about group. Group is beautiful. It's one of the most healing ways in therapy that people get help all the time. Psychoeducation groups are known to do a lot of work in a short amount of time for a lot of people. And here's why. Because everybody's supporting each other, right? And so I think that in ORAT, you have built one of the most amazing groups at the end of the day. So I'm going to take some of these questions, but I do want to come back over here. So please just shoot your hands up once we get these questions done so we can try to figure out if we can help each other out a little bit. All right? Good to go. Go for it.
All right, definitely appreciate it, Fred. Very powerful. So even though Dion's not here, from one fellow sea service veteran to another, thank you for your service.
Sure. No, thank you, man.
And one of the things that, as you were talking, without the risk of kind of oversimplifying this as kind of an aha moment, it seemed like the general takeaway that I got was with the right, or this is something, kind of learning from, grade school math, basically, is that with the right tools, anything that has been done can be undone.
Yes, absolutely.
Absolutely.
One of the greatest studies in mental health is that they figured out that neuroplasticity is a real thing, right? Yes. Neuroplasticity is a real thing, which means that the brain, over the course of life, you start carving in these pathways, right? Where you feel like, okay, this is the habit, this is me. Well, neuroplasticity says that that's not true. This is not just you. Like, you can actually change, which is kind of funny that like this new study, and maybe over the last 5 to 10 years, but here's what's funny about that is that that's always been the case. Like, people change themselves every single day, right? But I guess they were trying to figure out, okay, how are they doing this? Well, it's neuroplasticity. Really what it means is the brain can do its own thing. It can change. People can go from thriving to surviving, and then people can go from surviving to not surviving, like in a minute, right? So we know the brain can change. But yes, Absolutely, 100%. Hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, that was in terms of like the power of habit. I think it was like Charles Duhigg.
Yes.
So yeah, that was very powerful.
Excellent book. Absolutely. Excellent book. A real quick book for you guys to write down if you want to about trauma is called The Body Keeps the Score. If you've ever read that book, it's an amazing book. Go right to chapter 5. It talks about how trauma impacts the body and how the body, like a sponge, absorbs the trauma and holds it. And then you end up having all kinds of adverse behaviors and all kinds of unfavorable things that happen in your life because you've had this trauma and it's the way you perceive the trauma. But you still would need trauma work. The book is not going to cure it, but it gives you some insight about it. All right? Next question. Thanks, Chester. Oh, you got another one? Go for it.
So that was Bessel van der Kolk, I believe.
Yep, Bessel van der Kolk. You got it, man.
Okay, so now I'll be really quick. So 2 quick questions. First, would you recommend, because I know Adrian was here last year and he did the piece about doing affirmations. So would you recommend combining positive affirmations with things such as CBT or EMDR? And then the second question, in terms of being able to, like you listed all of the different types of, let's call them dark patterns, like saying certain things, like what are some practical ways that you would recommend or say to be able to recognize those dark patterns that as they're happening in real time to be able to kind of cut them short or stop them so that they don't continue to get worse?
Sure. So if you're in a dark place, here's what I will tell you. If you're in a dark place, you're finding that you're going into a dark place at least more than 2 times a day, right? That's definitely a place where you need some real serious help, right? You got to do some deep dives there. But I would say start with some of the simple coping skills, some of the breathing, right? Those positive affirmations help, okay? EMDR, supposedly you can actually do it. I've never told people to do it on their own because I think it works best with a therapist and the actual client. But EMDR, there are instances in EMDR where people actually tap and they work on themselves and they come right out of it. Absolutely. So, tapping does work. And the reason why is because it's bilateral stimulation, right? And so when the person's looking at left side, right, the brain is active. And so it can't really focus on that negative thing. It can only focus on the thing that now it's trying to focus on. And so what they have in EMDR is a stage called VOC, validity of cognition, right? In other words, how much do you believe this positive belief versus this negative core belief that we went in with, right? And so it's a process. Like, it's a little bit of a process today for me to explain. I'd have to do like a whole presentation on EMDR. But you can tap yourself out of it. You can use coping skills to get yourself out of those dark places. All right? Something I would tell somebody, too, in regard to affirmations is, you know what? In your faith, like if you have positive scriptures, if you have different mantras, whatever it is that you do to help you, use it on a daily basis. Don't just use it when you're in a tight place. Use it on a daily basis and really believe it, okay? Lean into it. Don't just don't be a Sunday person, be an everyday person. Does that make sense? All right, good stuff. Go for it.
Yeah, I'd like to echo, thank you for your service. I don't think we tell each other that enough.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for yours too, brother.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And thank you, wife, too, because it's a family thing,
Absolutely it is.
I have 3 things I detest, and I don't test much.
Sure.
The enemies of the United States of America.
Uh-huh. I do too.
Lazy people that are lazy for no reason.
Sure.
And the stigma in specifically the military that the mental health assistance is a bad thing.
Yeah.
And I believe in preventative maintenance.
Sure.
What's the function? How's the preventative maintenance look for the mind and how we can use it appropriately?
Yeah, wow, that's a good question. Preventive maintenance. So let me ask you this question. What are some things that you've already started with?
Like, I'm single, no wife, no kids. I do regular dinners with people in my squadron.
Okay, that's very good. Yep.
And then getting outside and, being in nature.
Absolutely. So those are 2 great things, right? But here's what I would tell you is, aside from just getting with people, right, I would say also getting on your own and journaling on a daily basis. And here's why. Because it gives you introspective, right? And so a lot of people don't have a lot of good introspection. Like, I ask people all the time, like, tell me about yourself. And they're just kind of like, I'm nice, I'm funny, And so I'm like, no, tell me really about yourself. Like, who is sitting across from me today? Who is hurt, right? Who did they hurt when they did that? Who's the person carrying the trauma today? Who's the person having this thought today, right? Who do you believe you are? And so oftentimes people don't have that answer. And so I would say journaling helps, because when you look at what you've written, it tells you who you are. You say, man, I can't believe I wrote that. And so you go back like a week later, you look at what you wrote last week compared to this week. You might even have a goal. Like you might say, like, you know, over the next month, I want to have a little bit more grace for people who I look at as being lazy, right? And so you might want to just do a deep dive in that. Like, why do I think people are lazy? What is it about people that, you know, and now listen, I'll tell you this in a minute. People who have served in the military, they already started telling us that people are lazy because they used to call us lazy when we went through basic training, right? And then they would say these words. They said it in the Marine Corps all the time, nasty civilians. I'm sorry, no offense to anybody, but this is what they would say. They would say to Marines all the time, they would say, they would say, look, you're going from being a nasty civilian to being a United States Marine. So when you become something in the military, once you're in, it's like, I am totally separate from American society. Does that make sense? And so that's another reason why I like ORAT, is because everybody comes together and we're able to do this right here. Help each other from where we are, right? Not from necessarily where we came from. Of course, that's important, but recognizing the value in where we are, right? And so some of those people you might be seeing as lazy, guess what? You might have used to be one of those people. Does that make sense? Yeah. All right, cool. Hopefully I answered that question, man. Next up.
All right, thank you very much. You mentioned on one of your slides about sleep and no sleep.
Yeah.
And Americans have a real challenge with sleep.
Horrible. Yep.
So would like mental counseling help with sleep?
Big time. Yeah, big time. As a matter of fact, mindfulness will help relax your body a lot. Meditation will help relax your body, right? Because listen, you're not going to be able to sleep all the time. We got three moments in a day, right? You got 8 hours of work, 8 hours of sleep, and 8 hours of play, right? And then some people in that aspect of 8 hours of play, right? You got 24 hours, right? 8, right? 24. So you got 8 hours of sleep, right? 8 hours to work and 8 hours to play. And some people use that play time for work time outside of their regular work time. Or some people, family time is taxing for them, right? Depending on how they spend it, right? So like some stay-at-home mothers, they don't see that as like family time. They see that as work time. And so they need their own time. But our brain is always, always going. So if we can get a minute, like at least 15, I say 10 to 15 minutes a day to just sit and be mindful and be focused about something, listen, let me tell you something. It'll do magic for you. It will do magic for you. But here's the deal. If you're having a problem with sleep, here is a naturopathic way to address it, right? Now, I'm not an MD, but I'm just going to tell you this. I have had clients drink lemon balm tea. Lemon balm tea. It's a great tea, but it helps to relax you a little bit. Just, it's natural, takes the edge off, and it gives you an opportunity to kind of do that. Either that or eat a lot of turkey, because tryptophan makes you go to sleep. So, you know, one or the other. Get a real big pound of boiled turkey and make it happen. One or the other. You got another question? Okay, cool.
Thank you.
Next up.
I have a question. I have a lot of great family and friends that definitely struggle, and most of them aren't willing to work on themselves unless it's their own idea. Do you have any great books or resources you recommend for them to kind of have that self-reflection and kind of get that help on their own?
Absolutely. So The Body Keeps the Score is a good one, right? And then I'm going to read off a couple of other books here in a few minutes right before I finish. All right, so I'll have that list for you in a minute, okay?
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Good deal. Yep.
I just want to start this off by saying, Mike, thank you so much for everything that you do. Thank you for creating your channel, your community of like freaking, this is like the most amazing. I'm part of lots of real estate investing communities. You guys are people are like some of the most awesome people that I ever interact with. And the fact that you bring in guests like this, like you gave me chills when I was sitting up there.
Oh, man,
I'm not a very
emotional
emotional guy, like, or anything like that. And so right now I own over 60 rentals, doing great real estate and all that stuff. But in the middle of my journey, I got massively depressed. I was in a silo. Wow. I was in Alaska, stationed there with, Fort Wayne right in the military.
Yep. You know how it gets dark.
In the middle of my journey, doing all my stuff, all on my own, got really, depressed. Lost my grandpa was my role model, my best friend to suicide, just like all of these things all at once. Mike, your channel was something I watched pretty religiously at that time, which was great. And now I love that it's transitioned to this. But all the things that you're saying, like, when I now educate people in real estate investing too, and for me, it's like, I can't answer that question of when you're depressed, because when I was depressed, I just worked through it and got through it through a bunch of success and all that, and that's cool, but like that's not what I would recommend anyone else do. Just like work hard, eat shit till it's good eventually, like it pays off. So the stuff that you're saying now is like, I wish I knew this stuff years ago. It would have changed and made my life so much easier. So
absolutely.
Thank you for bringing someone like this to share all this stuff with people on all walks of their journey. So thank you, Mike. This is awesome.
Appreciate you, man.
Thanks,
I appreciate
it.
Absolutely.
First off, Fred, man, that was amazing. Your favorite you're my favorite speaker of the weekend
bless you,
so
man.
far, dude. You're going to be a hard act to follow. Question that I have. I'm very type A. I'm very driven individual.
Sure.
I'm always on, and I really genuinely love what I do. So on most days, I wake up first thing in the morning and I work until the evening or late at night.
Yeah.
And I find myself struggling being present with the people that I care about the most.
Oh.
And I can't just shut off like when I walk through the front door.
Sure.
And I want to be better, but sometimes in conversations maybe with my wife where I'm not being mindful and I want to be more mindful, the challenge I have is I get defensive because I feel like all of this work that I'm doing is this life that we live is the byproduct of all of this. So sometimes there are going to be days where I have to work really hard, but I need to find balance in when I'm with her or my kids or with the people that I care about the most. How do I not be so into real estate? Do you have any advice or insight that you can share to help me improve?
I sit with a lot of couples, they have that same thing. And this is what my wife and I practice, actually. And we do it unknowingly. But watch this. Number one, I always call it pick a point, right? Pick a point. This is for guys, okay? But I always say pick a point. This is the guy's pap smear, right? And the reason why I call it a guy's pap smear is because for women, it's one of the most uncomfortable, awkward moments for them, right? Right, ladies? Look, I'm just saying, nobody loves to go to a gynecologist and be like, yeah, here I am, right? Nobody likes that, right? That's so invasive. But here's the thing for men, right? Pick a point, pap, in the day, even if you got to set it on your phone, where you actually send your wife a message that has nothing to do with real estate. Hey, can't wait to see you later on. Don't ask her what's for dinner. Don't ask her any of that stuff. Just say, hey, can't wait to see you. Now, if you already do that, that's great. So then take it to the next step. Actually have a conversation on your way home. So that way, by the time you get to the front door, you're no longer in that mood of real estate anymore. Now you're touching the door and you can't wait to get to the person you just finished talking to. Go back to like you when we were dating. Like, hey, I can't wait to hang out with you tonight. Hey, I can't wait to see you this evening, right? Because here's the thing. You can get so caught up in what you're doing. And I know we've talked, right? High functioning individual, high level, big dreams, big vision, right? And that in and of itself is a drug. It's an addiction, right? It feels great. But here's the reality. When you start to feed that and you start to jump on that like really hard, right? What happens is you forget really what drove you there. And what drove you there was her and the kids, right? Like, yeah, the life you're enjoying is the byproduct of, right? But the byproduct of you enjoying them is the life. So they kind of equal out in some aspects, right? But listen to me. Here's what I said in the very beginning. Remember this. I want you to make it to your dream without killing yourself. I want you to make it alive. And I want you and your whole family to make it alive, right? There's a crazy, wild Bible passage, right? It's an account. A guy named Zacchaeus who's high functioning, right? Big money, making it happen, right? He goes to the top of a tree. Jesus is in town. And he goes through all these people. And the reason why he has to climb is because he's so short, he cannot see Jesus. The greatest moment in his life, he needs to see Jesus. He needs to see this guy that's been healing people, changing lives, doing an amazing thing. Because this guy's a high-performing guy. So he's like, I got to see this guy. So he climbs to the top of a tree, gets to the top of a tree. Jesus walks by the tree, looks up, sees him, and says, hey, tonight I'm coming to your house. And he accepts the invitation. Of course, Jesus basically says, whether you like it or not, I'm coming to your house. But he goes to Jesus' house, Jesus goes to his house, and watch this. The Bible says that because he received Jesus into his house, some things changed. He changed his mind. He shifted his perspective. But it says that he and his whole house were saved. And the word saved means saved from damnation, saved from sin, saved from challenge, saved from dying. Right? And here's the thing. I would not want you to chase your dream. You're doing amazing things. You're doing awesome. I was here last year. I saw you and your wife's presentation. Amazing presentation. Encouraged us to continue doing what we're doing. And here's the thing. If you don't continue to do that, then, you've lost a lot of steam. And I would not want you to lose steam, but I would also not want you to lose your family in the process. So make a call. Pick a point in the day. Pick a point in the day. That's a great point. But pick a point in the day, right? Pick a point in the day and say, hey, right now, as I'm leaving, when it says day's over, call wife and talk about whatever. It doesn't even matter. Don't talk about the kids. Don't talk about anything frustrating. Just talk about, hey, I can't wait to see you. I can't wait to, hey, listen, I'm going to pick up our favorite meal or whatever because, hey, I think we should just celebrate tonight. Why? Why are we celebrating? Just because of us, honey. I just finished doing this great day, and I just want to celebrate us. We do it all the time. We love it. We're always on honeymoon. We're empty nesters at this point, right? We've got one child at home. And, she's just there, right? She's just kind of hanging out, waiting to figure out what she wants to do. She'll turn 20 this year. But it's okay because it's the baby girl. It's my daughter. I don't want her to leave with a jerk. So I'm like, you can stay as long as you want. Just don't make too much noise. Other than that, but we are just having the anniversary of our lives, man, all the time, every time. So pick a point. Hopefully that helped you. Cool, man. Good.
I was going to ask you in private.
Yeah.
But do you do virtual counseling?
I do.
I'm signing up.
I do.
I'm signing up, and then we're going to do couples counseling too.
It's
cool.
I do faith-based virtual from a distance, but it is cash pay because I don't take insurance from other states. But yes, absolutely. Definitely, absolutely. Good stuff.
No,
you have another question?
Thank you. No, that was amazing.
All right, good deal. Mike, are we done?
Yeah, show your slide.
Okay, good stuff. Hey, look, here's my last one right here because this is my why, and I have to do this. On your left, this is my grandson, and on your right, this is my granddaughter. And listen, folks, I appreciate you so much. I'm sorry we didn't get a chance to do group, but here's the thing. Take group to lunch. Take group to lunch. And look, as you share about this, like how it helped you, how powerful it was, listen, don't be afraid to be a little vulnerable about what's helping you to keep your steam going, okay? What's helping you to keep your steam going? I will tell you this. Don't give up. Don't give up. Keep pressing in. I know sometimes it can get hard. Couples that are here, thank you so much for holding on to each other through the whole weekend. I've seen a lot of you show each other affection, and there's been some real tough conversations in the room in regard to finance and people talking fast and kind of trying to figure things out. Listen, you both are not going to get it at the same time all the time, but here's one thing. You didn't do this. You didn't get married because of this. You got married because you loved each other, and so keep that in mind all the time. Don't try to be successful losing each other in the process. All right? Listen to me. That's my time. Thanks a lot. I appreciate you.
So I didn't lie, right? Most meaningful presentation of the event. And of course, now you are a champion.